Hello, it's Carrie, and today I'm going to show you some tips and tricks to using these watercolor pencils from Marvy Uchida. I have here some watercolor paper. This is the Canson XL watercolor paper, and I've cut it to 3 by 4.5 just to try out some techniques. And these colored pencils came in the Hedgehog Hollow August 2018 subscription box. Here I'm going to show you how to combine some of these colors and make them blend beautifully. The trick to watercolor pencils is to use a light hand. In fact, I am not pressing at all as I'm putting this onto the watercolor paper. However, I am building up the color slowly over top of each other. So you can see I'm not pressing hard. I am not trying to condense the watercolor paper at all. I'm just lightly adding the color to the paper. And I'm changing colors and overlapping them just a little bit. So here I am using some colors that I like, the cool colors in this kit. And I'm just going to add some yellow, greens, and blues. Be sure to use colors that are next to each other on the color wheel so that when you blend them together they don't turn brown. For example, red, orange, yellow, or green, blue, and purple. I found that when you press too hard with these watercolor pencils, it's very difficult to get the lines out when you add water. So that's why the light touch is really important. I'm going to take a water brush, and this is going to be the Nuvo water brush with a medium point tip. And I really like this water brush. I get it started on my hand here and then just apply the water brush to the watercolor pencil, and look how it blends. It really does distribute that color nicely. I did try this with a larger tip on my water brush, but I didn't like it as well. It seemed like the medium tip had just enough pressure that I could move that color around nicely and get a better blend. You'll see later when I try that larger tip, and I went right back to this medium tip. So here I'm just blending out the colors. The nice thing about watercolor pencils is you can continue to add color on top of each other. However, you do need to absolutely wait until the color dries before adding another color. So I'm going to set that one aside, and later on I'll add just a little more color to the light blue there at the bottom and even to some of the other colors. So here I'm going to just try out some different colors, and I'm going to speed this up so that you don't have to sit through that whole thing again. It is a little bit of repetition, but when I use different colors and try the different overlapping methods, it really does turn out to be a fun experiment. So I hope you'll give this a try yourself. Here I'm going to use some purples, greens, and blues, and I'll just use that water brush again and blend that color into each other. These really do create a fantastic blend, and they are nice and bright. I really like these watercolor pencils, and I have tried a few different other brands. This is my first time with this particular brand, so it was fun to see the different color variations I could get with these colors. I'm just going to try a few more options here, and I'll play a little music, and then I'm going to show you how I watercolored up some of those hedgehogs from the same kit. So I'll be back when the coloring is through. Here I'm going to take this little hedgehog, the one holding the tea and the biscuits, and I'm going to add some of this watercolor pencil to her as well. It's very simple. Just add a little bit of color and a little bit of darkness and blend it out with your water brush. Again, it's easy to add color on top once the color dries. And here I'm just going to add some blush to her cheeks and a little to her belly. It is a little bit hard to see this in the video, but it's a little brighter in real life. So adding that pink, and then I'm going to add some brown. And all you really have to do is just add a line and then blend it out with your water brush. It's a very quick way of coloring up an image. And you usually get fabulous results if you remember the tricks of not coloring too hard and also adding color a little at a time. When I was researching hedgehogs online, I noticed that most hedgehogs have darker quills at the end of the tips of their quills. And so you'll see here later on that I add some brown around the inside of this little hedgie and then some black along the tips and blend that out to blend beautifully together. And I think it adds a fun detail. When I color up the last hedgehog that I'm sharing today in my blog post, you'll notice that I added some more brown and I actually added some darker lines so that you could see the lines, so it did look like quills. So there are a lot of different ways that you can color up these hedgehogs, and it's really quite fun. So I'll leave you with some music again, and I'll see you back at the end. Did you notice that I touched the color to make sure that it was dry before I added more brown? If it still feels cool to the touch, then let it dry just a little bit longer before you add some more watercolor pencil and blend it out. Here I'm just adding a few details, a little glitter pen, a little white gel pen to her eyes. And now you're going to see that I decide I want a little more blending and a little brighter color on this particular background. So I'm adding some more colored pencil, and this has had plenty of time to dry, so it is completely dry when I'm adding this to the top. I'm not pressing hard at all, just adding a little more color, and I'm going to blend it out with the brush. So it does add a little more brightness and blends those colors a little better together. I'm going to add a little more yellow on the top here too to blend the green and the yellow together a little more. And there you have a beautiful background. For this particular project, I decided to cut the hedgehog out with my scissors. I just fussy cut that, and then I'm going to cut out the background with a tag so that I can use this for a little goodie giveaway that I have for my neighbor. This little hedgehog is so cute, watercolored up. I added the stamp Handmade for You by me that's also included in the set on one of the stamp sets, and now I'm going to pop the hedgehog up using 2 layers of 3M Scotch foam tape. Look how cute it looks on this little package filled with chocolates. And here's another one in a different color scheme. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next time.